Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to this week's edition of the Digital Shop Talk Radio. My name is Tom Dorsey. I got Ben and Nate Ramsey with me from Meineke in Pennsylvania. They are taking the Meineke organization by storm, and we got them on to talk about how to maintain a high ARO, grow that ARO while still maintaining their high car count. Welcome, Ben and Nate.
What's going on, Tom?
Thanks for having us, Tom.
Living the dream, buddy. No, thanks for coming on, guys. And before we get into it, I want to give a little bit of context about these guys. You know, last time I saw them, we were out at Digital Shop Conference. I mean, most of that stuff we can't even talk about because it's not even legal in this state. On what we experienced with these guys. But you know, it's funny when I talk to Meineke owners, right? They talk about you guys almost like it's the thing of legend, right? Like they're talking about, it's like I feel like I'm sitting around the campfire talking about myths and legends, right? And so let me give you the gist of what I know about you guys, right? You kind of got your warfighter go home money, came home, bought a Meineke. Meineke was doing, I think, 300K-ish, something like that. Within a year, you'd basically quadrupled the revenue with the same folks on staff. Meineke said, OMG, please buy more Meinekes, and started throwing locations at you. Now, I think you guys own 6 locations, something like that. And I think you got some more coming in the hopper. And really just, and then on top of that, kind of your veteran craft stuff, brewery, distillery. I mean, you guys are taking entrepreneurship to the next level. Couple of questions. Is the legend correct? Is my story, can you verify that? And if so, how the heck are you doing it?
Yeah, we got 5 currently, so we're working on 3 more this year, maybe 4. We'll see how they go. Do a couple conversions. One's a new location. 2012, we got our first center. It did $337,000. We did $1,502,000 in our first fiscal year. So that year we took over, we were at the end of February. We did $1,034,000. So we did $990,000. They had $44,000 in our first 10 months. And man, the principle's simple. The industry kind of dictates that you'd always take care of your customer. We just said we're going to take care of our people. You do a good job taking care of your people are going to take care of your customers. There's 3 of us, other brothers not here. Nate and Josh both did 10 years respectively in the Army. And when we started, they were both in the Army, and we brought Josh in after a year, and then Nate came about a year and a half into it. And we've just gone at it with a full head of steam, and we've had some really good mentors, whether they be some of the people at corporate or everybody knows Brian Brown if they're in the Meineke system, and Greg Masowick,
the
leprechaun, up north, who's big into auto vitals. We've done a good job of not trying to reinvent a bunch of wheels and just ask people how they've gotten successful and follow those footsteps.
Yeah, it's pretty simple, straightforward, right? Take care of your customers, provide that awesome service, do what successful people do, and you'll be successful yourselves. But I mean, it's incredible. Like I said, when I talk to folks in the Meineke organization, when they talk about you, man, it's like they're talking about, legends, right, already. And what a great position to be in. What a great, credibility and respect you get from corporate down, and really being able to get front, and center. I mean, you guys are just straight leaders in the organization, and it's great that, we're able to partner together with the digital shop concept, our digital inspection program, Paul and Greg and all those MDA guys in the beginning, really helping to get that awareness out, and it's having the results, right? Matter of fact, I was on with Meineke corporate a meeting a little bit ago, and we were talking about the guy in Ventura. I think first inspection that he got done, full inspection, he got done $1,700 ticket. He's running a $500 ARO now, right? And high volume. And so, and that's really the critical thing, right? Is what we want to kind of get to the audience and give them some food for thought here to help folks out, is how are you able to still maintain that high car count so you can do those kind of numbers, but having to work in a digital inspection and make those process changes to make that effective?
So one of the ways that we do it is we actually slightly adjusted our scheduling concept, and we actually bumped out our online scheduling to an hour and a half for an oil change. One, that's kind of setting up the customer for expectation. And then we also audit it and control it. So we're making sure we're keeping track of how long our guys are spending on their inspections. And then we're also auditing the thoroughness of their inspections. So, I mean, because it's not how many cars you can get through your shop, it's how many cars you can get through your shop and thoroughly check out in a timely manner so that you still have the opportunity to swing the bat with that customer.
And so let me ask you, what does that process look like? I mean, how often are you auditing inspections? Do you have notifications set up in the business control panel that says, hey, we're dropping below some inspection threshold, gives you a notification, and then you dig down?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, to be completely honest, convention, I picked up on customer research time.
Yeah.
When I came back to my BCP, I immediately looked up where we were for that. We weren't doing good on that at all, which I diagnosed as we weren't doing a proper check-in, and we weren't forcefully training our customers on what they need to do when they come to our shop. I trained my managers on that. I mean, I was averaging across the 5 centers like 64 seconds of research time.
Yeah.
And we're a little over 200 now since January 13th. So it's insta, man. And I now have multiple centers, over 400 ARO and a couple more over 3. And I got one straggler still coming on up. So,
wow, man. I mean, that really is the secret sauce, right? I mean, that's kind of what we've all boiled it down to, is we identified that motorist research time, right? Because it's a culmination of a lot of things. And for folks that, are in that boat, you're looking to increase your motorist research time, or maybe it's a brand new concept to you right now, right? Because you just, you didn't get the conference, you kind of aren't following us on the Facebook and best practices. Your motorist research time in your business control panel, it really is the bellwether for you. Why? Because it tells you if you set expectations at the drop, right? And we call it the Amazon rule, right? Because how do you shop on Amazon? Somebody doesn't call you from Amazon and tell you what to buy. You're in your bunny slippers, sipping the veteran craft bourbon right there. And you're online in the middle of the night, and you don't want any intrusion. You want to be able to look at information and compare and read reviews and make your mind up. And so we take that same concept into the approval process with the digital shop, right? As we say, here's this information you're going to receive. We tell them this at the drop, and we say to them, you're going to look at all this stuff. And once you've reviewed this, then you're going to call me with some questions you might have. And when I tell you what, one of the biggest changes in habit especially for the old dogs, right, that you have to overcome is, gosh, I'm super busy. They called me. I've got them on the phone, which, a lot of times that's a victory in itself, is just to get the folks on the phone, right? Yep. You don't have to leave a message or wait for a call back. So now I have to fight the urge to go ahead and just sell them. Oh, I look on my dashboard and I say, oh, they haven't even looked at the inspection sheet yet, but whatever. I'm just going to tell them what they need, right? That is a hard thing to overcome. When you do overcome that, and what you do is you tell them straight up, you say, hey, go ahead and take a look at your inspection, look at the pictures, look at the videos and the notes that the tech's put in there for you, and then call me back.
Yep.
You hang up on them. Hard to do, but when you do it, that's exactly what happens. Motorist research time goes into that 240-second sweet spot and above. ARO follows right behind it, and it stays consistent that way. You can maintain that motorist research time. You're maintaining your ARO. It's just a numbers game after that. And so that's why we hammer that motorist research time best practices, because then you get the results that these guys have gotten. And so tell us a little bit about what that was like from the service writer's perspective, because that's that's not an easy habit to change.
Yeah. So, ultimately my sell to my service writers and managers was, look, we're doing all the work. We were already at 85, 90% plus on inspection rate.
Yeah.
So, my sell to them was, guys, we're doing all the work and we're not benefiting from it because the customer isn't actually looking at it. So we need to forcefully make the customer look at it. I did give them a little bit of an out on hanging up on customer. I said, if the customer overly objects to it, I said, you have to make them open it at that point and at least review it with you as a last resort.
Yeah.
So and I emphasize that should be the last resort. Another selling point I had with my managers was, look, a lot of our managers are single guy running a shop.
Yeah.
So they get real busy. We don't have a ton of people. I don't have the Firestone set up where there's 18 managers to 5 cars. So, I mean, one of the sells for them was, look, when your customer is calling and you've trained your customer to look over that inspection report, you're going to spend less time having to sell to them because they're already going to be mostly educated on what you're going to be talking to them about. They might need some pointers and, they're still going to need some tips and stuff, but it's going to be a lot smoother transition to when is it going to be done, not how much is it, or, and it's just going to save them time.
And that's a money takeaway. Write that down, because that's exactly what you need to do. Is you need to train your customer on your expectations. It's a plan. The digital consumer loves a process, right? We love to know. Our phone tells us what's going to happen next, and the little notification comes and I do the stuff. And I don't even need to know what I'm doing. My phone's telling me to do it, so I do it. And then automatically out of my bank account, money flies into your bank account. That's the trick, right? And if you follow that, it's scalable, and you can do it a lot, and you can really get it built into those habits. And so what I would say, that's great. It's first step, right? And you get the guys, and they got to get them on the phone. But what we want them to experience now is to say, I could be so much more efficient and productive if I can eliminate the having to get them to open it and walk them through it again on the phone. Yep. And that's setting the expectation at the drop, and then reinforcing that, like you said, educating that customer through all the touch points, right up until approval. And so, no, that's awesome, man. Is that the ability to just even get to that point, see the numbers, right? Because you see the shining spot on the hill, and then let's just run for it. Let's charge.
If you explain to your people, if you get a new customer, you're only getting a new customer from one of a couple things. Somebody moved in the area, which is the minority.
Yeah.
Somebody that they wanted to take care of them can't fit them in, or somebody did them wrong in their opinion or in their eyes. Something went wrong.
And they're going to switch.
So if you have this tool where you can explain to people that they're going to be able to see what's going on with their car, and you're not taking advantage of that, the vast majority of people, when they jump shops, is because they think somebody did them wrong. It's normally because they weren't educated or they weren't explained something correctly. It's not that everybody's a crook, but that's on the front of their mind. That's why they left and started looking for somewhere else.
Yep.
So when you have them at your counter and you're talking to them, that's the point to put them at ease from the get-go. And they just know, like, okay, like, I don't have to worry about it with these people. And like Nate said, we were doing all the work. We just weren't giving ourselves the reward because we weren't making sure they clearly understood, because we didn't create those expectations and show them. When you're checking them in, man, flip that computer around and go, look, here's what an auto vitals looks like. When you're explaining it to them, show them one. And they're just going to be like, okay, well, I'm going to get pictures of my brakes. I'm going to get pictures of my tires, my filters. And they don't have to worry then. So people say picture's worth 1,000 words. We say good picture's worth $1,000, man.
Yes. Each and every time, right? Minimum 10 pictures per inspection, right? 5 recommendations per inspection. I mean, there's a pretty simple formula that you can follow, right? It's like a recipe for success. And because in the business control panel, you're able to see those kind of behavioral metrics, not just the top line stuff. How many cars, what was our inspection percentage, all that's good stuff. But literally, how many wrecks was the tech making? How many, what percentage of pictures got an edit? All of that information that leads up to exactly that user experience where the customer gets in there and sees the transparency, educates themselves through that process, right? Because the pictures tell, like you said, they tell 1,000 words, it convert into $1,000, and the educational videos that you put in there, all of that time used to be spent on the phone trying to tell them, and here's the worst thing, right? With the invention of the internet is to say, oh, you need this timing belt. This timing belt's going to be $850 for your vehicle. And they go, well, okay, gosh, do I really need it? Yeah, you sure do. And let me go just Google that. Wait, it's a $75 rubber band. What do you mean $850? Right. And it just puts that, the walls come up right away. Now they're on the defense, right? Because now everything you're telling them they don't need or they don't get. And that's exactly like what Ben was saying is, and then they're going to start looking around, right? And it's up to you when you do get them in. Yeah, maybe they couldn't get in on their regular guy. You got to wow them and come over the top and convert them to a regular for you. When they are new to town, you start them out right? And then when they're angry, when they're coming in, because usually, you know what, guys, it's not about money. I don't know if this is your experience. It's about the value. It's not really about what your shop rate is, right?
100%.
You know,
And
it's
you hit the nail on the head. We used to spend most of our time answering the question of, do I really need it? And people ask you questions trying to figure out, like, is there a crack in what this guy is telling me? I'm coming to this guy because this guy, like my last guy, didn't tell me the truth, and they're coming in with that mindset. Like when you're sending them good pictures, you don't have conversations anymore about, do I need it? You have conversations about, when can you do it?
exactly.
And those are the conversations we want to have.
You know, and that's the greatest thing about the digital inspection. You assume the sale, right? You assume the sale. It's evident in the data and in the condition. And here's your options. You do it today. You do it in 3 weeks. You can't do it in 6 months, because if you do, we're going to be replacing all this other stuff along with it, and it's going to cost this much. So let's put a plan in place, right? And that's really where it becomes so critical for the delivery. That's another thing I want to talk about, is that just like you said, you put in all the work, you're not getting the rewards. And you know what, how many people fail to just hit that send button and they say, well, they were in the shop, right? I printed it out.
Yep.
No, you hit the send button. It doesn't matter if they're standing right in front of you. How many times have you sent out an inspection and they're sitting in, it's a waiter, and they're right there in the inspection sheet as they're going through? And I could tell you story after story of folks that come up to me and say, I sent out this ticket, you know, this estimate, sent out the inspection results. They had approved, you know, a piece of it while they're still in the shop, before the vehicle's even up on the lift. They come back up and say, hey, let's go ahead and add this. Let's add this. They're upselling themselves sitting in the waiting room while they're looking at the inspection sheet on their phone. That's why you do it, right? And then they can revert back to that for their next, because then you get the exit schedule. When are you coming back to get this stuff done? It's assume the sale and get that exit schedule 100% of the time.
Yep.
Should be the goal, right?
Absolutely.
So where you guys at from that? I mean, how do you run your process to make sure that they're coming back, there's a plan in place, and that you can fit them in, because you guys got busy bays?
So we suck at exit scheduling. That's what's next on my, that's one of my next things. That was one of the things I got from convention that I said, I'm going to fix. When I came back, my text opt-in rates were like 15%, and my customer research times were like 62 or something. So I said, let's fix a couple things at once, because you're not going to eat the whole thing at once.
Yeah.
So exit scheduling is one of our next things. Meineke does a pretty good job with CRM, with sending stuff out for us. So our point of sale system does a pretty good job of sending them out reminders, which is not as good as exit scheduling, but it's a Band-Aid for now. Meineke does a good job at driving us cars. So, but I mean, overall, I mean, exit scheduling is next on us. So, I mean, as good as, you know, Meineke guys all want to say, you know, talk to us about how, you know, great we are and legends and whatnot.
Yeah,
we
sure
have
do,
so
buddy.
much low hanging fruit. It's unbelievable. I mean, it's, you know, I'll use an example. I just audited last year. I mean, number 7 store in the country for Meineke had 5,000 cars and did 27 thermostats. So we're going to work on that.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, you got to see the forest through the trees, right?
Yep.
Well, let me ask you this then. So in the CRM, are you able to customize that and put a link to the inspection sheet? How do you keep the inspection sheet kind of top of mind once they're out of the shop? Because that's really critical for their return, I think.
Yeah, I mean, they have the links. We do callbacks. So we do a lot of manual callbacks with our customers. So after 3 days and 7 days, and when they're due to come in for an oil change, we pick a lot of that stuff up whenever we're calling back and doing the check-in. Like Nate said, that exit scheduling is absolutely something that is on our minds about doing. Meineke's got a new point of sale system that's right around the corner too, and we got a lot more stuff that's going to get baked in over the next couple months. So we're kind of picking some of the things that we're not going to create some new processes with our people to turn around and have them change in 2 months. Like we have enough low hanging fruit. As much stuff as we do well and do right, we've got no shortage of low hanging fruit. There's still a lot of money left there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And and it is though, it's really critical to long-term retention, right? And making sure just getting loyal customers and making, because then they start to tell their friends and you start to pick up the referrals and stuff like that from them. And so you always want to give one to show, one to go, right? And so I always recommend, you hit the text and email version, you print a copy out for them. Are you guys doing that? Are you sending them home with one in their hand?
We're not sending them home. We are making sure that the hyperlink is on the invoice.
Oh, good. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, and then it's texting as well. And going back just a hair here, one thing that I really drove home, again, convention item, was the text opt-in rate. Man, we were so bad. We were so bad. We're working on it, but it's such an amazing difference. And making sure that the managers understand the value of the text versus the email as well was huge for us.
Yeah. And being able
to invoices show all the, I mean, they don't show the pictures, and obviously the pictures are what tie to it. And again, some of the stuff that we need to do and where we need to make adjustments on how we're doing it, there's a lot of stuff that's getting baked into the point of sale system that what we're going to do. So
yeah, and once that comes out, we'll adjust around that as far as process goes and how you keep them in the loop. But there's some fundamental stuff. There's some basic stuff that we want to make sure that kind of and they get determined by success of other shops, right? So we kind of find out that, hey, when folks do this, good stuff happens. Let's do more of that. And it's just one of those kind of things where you want to encourage folks to go out and show their friends, show their family, and make it real simple for them to share their inspection results, because boy, I tell you what, the referrals and the appointments start pouring in, it's nothing better when you get somebody who's in a big office building or something and you can get that inspection result to them, while they're at work. And then they just start showing their coworkers. And then pretty soon, all of a sudden you got, 5-6 appointments picked up from this one place, right? Just like that, because people, it, like you said, especially if they're coming and they've had a bad experience and they feel like they've been getting treated shady, when you're able to show them that, it's like mind blown. They can't even believe the amount of transparency, and they want to share that stuff, right? And then everybody else wants to get kind of the same experience and come in and at least get the initial inspection done. And then you guys got to hook them.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So,
that tool, there isn't any technician, there isn't any counter person, there isn't anybody that tool doesn't make them better.
Yeah.
And, no matter how high up you get, like we keep talking about the low hanging fruit, but there's a handful of things that we know we got to get in and do, and we're doing. Also a believer of, you can't have more than 3 priorities if you got your water down. So we picked the 3 things coming out of California, and Nate's been hammering that at the stores, and we can instantly see the stuff and how it's doing and how it's doing better. So the thing that I think we've really learned and we really do, and is we rely on metrics. So often we get emotionally attached to stuff, especially when you're involved in a center and you look at how you operated and how the week went. And you really got to be able to take a step back, go to your dashboards, and because we get other dashboard information stuff on call counts and conversion rates and all kinds of stuff with Meineke, but you got to look at the numbers, and you don't get emotionally attached to the numbers, and they are what they are. You don't necessarily get wound up about it. You just pick, like, here's the 3 things I'm going to do, but you live by the numbers. Technicians, managers, everybody, they're all creatures of habit. And you get in on that dashboard, you figure out real quickly, this guy does 80% of an inspection, which is a different 80% than this guy does, which is a different 80% than this guy does. And you just pin them together and be like, hey, why don't you tell him why you get so many more transmission flushes? And you tell him why you get so many more timing belts. And the answer is it's just what they're looking at. It's not something that they actually don't know how to do, but man, they will get in a habit. And when you use your metrics, you find out when they get off that beaten path so much sooner when you do it on a reoccurring basis. And you don't let that money slip through your hands.
Yep.
No, it's amazing, right? I was doing a workshop, gosh, probably 4 years ago. And we had a client come in and they had the cameras on the phone and they were looking at their shops out in Kansas, and they were watching all the texts and everything. And, we had an epiphany is that, they all look busy on that camera, but you can't hide from the data. The data tells you more than a security camera ever will. And the security camera makes somebody feel, I mean, I'm being watched and whatever. The data is empowering, right? It takes all the emotions, like you said, it takes all the emotion out of the conversation. It's not that you're not doing your job right, or wrong, or maybe you are, but it's that here's your current performance, and here's where we need you to be. And here's the plan to get there. We can step that up, right? Maybe it's number of recommendations per inspection. Maybe it's, serve at the counter, picture edit rate, whatever, opt-in rate, right? And then, okay, here's what I'm doing. Then you break it down to the audit. Well, here's the process that I'm using. Okay, well, let's do this. Let's tweak this. Let's test this, and then move the needle in the right way. And then just get, make that part of your protocol and do more of it. Right. And so, when you're kind of hashing that type of process out, and that's the other thing that folks need to take away is that your brain just can't juggle more than those 3 kind of top line priorities. Yep. Matter of fact, that's why we set the BCP up on the summary view with the 3, you can set your 3 main KPIs, and then all the rest is the ancillary stuff. What are you guys looking at from your top 3 KPIs to identify when you need to make some changes or take some action?
Well, my multi-shop view, I have I believe it's 4 across, and I'm looking at ARO. I'm looking at inspection percentage, inspection sent, and then I'm looking at customer edited pictures and customer research time.
Motors research time.
So those are my 5 across that I'm monitoring right now. I mean, honestly, I could almost take down the inspection percentage rate.
Yeah.
I can check that on a weekly, because we've achieved that now. We're 88 or better percent on everybody. So we're inspecting the proper amount of cars. The inspection sent rate, I still have some stragglers down in the 60s. I'm kind of a believer that we should be hitting 99% on that. Really 100, I'll give it that 104-year-old customer that doesn't have a cell phone or email, once a quarter. But so we got some stragglers on that, but I mean, that's my main focus right now is the edited picture percentage. And then the customer research time, because that tells me that the service writer is looking at the inspection before he sends it. Because if he's editing pictures, he's looking at it. So we're sending them a good quality product, as well as are they doing a proper check-in and coaching their customer on looking at it, so that we're getting dividends off of our hard work of filling out those auto vitals.
Yeah, 100%, man, 100%, right? Because it's not going to work if you don't send it, and like I said, set those expectations. So what about from an inspection side? Because there's a lot of guys out there right now listening to this, or will be listening to it, that are saying, yeah, okay, that's all great, but my shop is different, right? We hear that all the time. And I know you guys run high numbers across all your locations, right? So how do you give some tips for guys that need to get over the excuse and get on the caboose, right? And so, are you running like a cursory type inspection initially? Do you go out like with a porter and do a quick walk around? What is your process from the tech's perspective, from check-in to kind of dispatch, look like?
So ours is, I think, stricter than what you guys say. We do 17 pictures minimum. We want to flood that inspection with good pictures. So this industry is notorious for sending people auto vitals or making phone calls and calling and going, hey, your car's a turd. Look at all this stuff that's bad. We want to make sure we have enough good stuff on there that we're telling them there's value in fixing their car. And the biggest thing is once you start teaching them that there can be exceptions to the rules, then they're going to make their own rules up. There ain't no way around it. So it's the same process, 17 pictures. We have a picture policy. We go through, we do the same things every time. And if you have it's 17 pictures, regardless of whether or not there's a recommendation. Any recommendation has to come with a picture, and there's no budging on it. Once you start budging it, it's just, that's it. You're done. The car's got 22,000 miles on it, 17 pictures. We're teaching that customer from the first time that they're in this is what you can expect when you come in here. So they're comfortable when they come back to get those breaks.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it also creates consistency. I mean, so our picture average is mid to upper 20s is what it actually comes out to, which means my edited percentage is a little lower because, you know, to get to 30%, we'd be editing, you know, 12 pictures. But we're getting there. We're up around 15 now, which we were 3 and 4% before convention. So, I mean, it really creates a consistency aspect for the customer as well. They know they're going to get a picture of their air and cabin filter every single time. They know they're going to get a picture of all their fluids every single time, because then, you know, this is something I always teach my service managers again, is it's not Nate telling the customer that his power steering fluid's dirty anymore. It's the picture telling you. And it's just, that picture's worth $1,000 every time.
It's freaking magic, right? I mean,
Yep.
you know, and seriously, I mean, that's what the internet did to us. Kind of Amazon led the way there, is that, you know, you see it and you get the reviews and you see all the comparisons and you go, oh, okay. I take all of that out and just make my decision to buy.
Right. And as far as, you know, I don't have time. I mean, we just set our customers' expectation when they're coming in. You know, when they're coming in, I mean, I still have customers that go, what do you mean my oil change is going to take an hour? You know, and it's setting that expectation. It is what it is. I mean, I always tell my guys when I'm running one of my shops, I always tell my guys, guess what? I mean, we're Meineke, man. We run 1995 oil changes. I have to bless off on that car leaving my shop before I'm going to lose money, because that's what a 1995 oil change is, a loss leader. You know, that's the biggest thing. So you can find all the excuses you want in the world to not do an inspection. You're finding excuses not to make money is what you're doing. I mean, and
you're lucky to get $100 ARO, right? I mean, they come, you know, I mean, when we onboard, there's a lot of centers like that, right? That are running. It's you know, they're maybe at 1 hour, 0.75 hours per RO, and, you know, pretty low, sometimes sub $100. And man, I'll tell you what, when they get on the plan and if they commit and follow to it, it's amazing to see how quickly they can double and triple those numbers, right? And the same thing when it comes to the text opt-in. So, you know, we'd love to be able to have you guys back on, you know, maybe towards the summer or something like that, give a couple months of metrics to come under the belt and talk about the improvements there and kind of how you drove that, because I know you will. I know you're going to win, because that's kind of in your blood, I'm guessing, with you Ramsey boys.
when I get my focus on something, it happens. So
yeah, man, you don't know what losing means. That's awesome. So because you know, that's one of the critical. It was funny when we first started going around Meineke locations, right? You know, when we first got together with Meineke, and I was listening to people, and I'd be out in these meetings and they'd be like, oh, we can't ask them for their cell phone. You know, they'd have 0 opt-in, right? And then I'd say, well, print this thing out, laminate it, tell them, well, okay, I can't text you this then. 90% opt-in next week. Right?
Well, you know what? And you know what? I'm gonna give a little bit of shout out to my last classic convention was Bill Cowers, the BCP master. Yeah. I'll tell you what, one of the shop owners that was in there gave me the golden nugget of convention. That was the assumed close on the text opt-in, and you will be looking at my inspection report and then giving me a call. I mean, we inform our customers everything else. Why aren't we just telling them what they need to do when they come to our shop? And that's,
and you know, and it's funny because on the same side of it, think about it. You love to get the text little notification that Domino's is on the way with your pizza. You love to go look at reviews of the other people or leave reviews for people.
Yep.
It's so ingrained. There is no intrusion there. It's expected. You just say, hey, leave me a review. You know,
I mean, we're all going to have
cell phone so I can do this next step with you. It's automatic.
We're all going to have an assumed sale on grinding brakes because it's the right thing for the customer. So we need to have an assumed sale for the customer opening that thing up and looking at it, because it's what the customer needs and it's what's best for the customer and for us.
Yeah. No, it's 2020, man. It's 1972. You know, you got a phone. Give me your number. It's the way it works nowadays. Where you been?
Exactly. Who doesn't have cell phones? It was
awesome having you guys on. I got to tell you, man, I know you got to run. You probably got to go buy a whole bunch more shops or something like that and go have a whole bunch more success. Shit, it must be about noon for you guys, you know, so You got a whole half day of winning left to do. So let's, I'll follow up with Dustin. Like I said, we'd love to have you back on a couple months, follow up on that and just see, the results, because I'll tell you what, man, there's a lot of guys out there that look up to you. The legends are true. And what you're doing on here is going to help a lot of folks, right? It's just give them the confidence, give them the direction. If you want to get a hold of these guys, Google them. We're on the Facebook forum as well. So get up on the Facebook forum and we can always get the message over to Ben and Nate. They're busy guys, but I'm sure, they're altruistic, buddy. They're going to help you and just ask, and we're all one big happy family helping each other be successful. So, if you guys want to give a shout out maybe and how folks can get a hold of you if they'd like to, and just maybe some follow-up questions and stuff like that, that'd be great. If you want to plug your brewery and distillery, I'd love for you to do that as well.
Tattered Flag.
Tattered Flag. Google it.
So, best way to get a hold of me is one of my goals. That is the number 8, the word digit empire at gmail.com. I'll respond to any emails I get there. So any questions anybody has. I'd also like to make a shout out to the Leprechaun, who's going to be on this show here in the next few weeks, I believe.
Yes,
so
he is.
Tom Brady ain't leaving.
That's what he said. Dude, you guys
Thanks for having us, Tom.
man. I can't wait to have you back on. Like I said, I'll twist the Leprechaun's nippies there a little bit for you when I get him on, and look forward to his comeback for you.
All right, sounds good, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah, buddy. Same right back at you. Thanks, Dustin.